Darkcast Network, indie pods with a dark side. Hello and welcome back to Fuck That. For the maybe one or two of you that'll notice, it's only been a week. I am going to very much try to produce an episode a week. So there's going to be an attempt. It may be a feeble attempt, but there will be an attempt to put out an episode weekly for you all. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. Still, I'm not 100% sure I can do it, but I am going to try to at least do it maybe once a month. So maybe there's 3 weeks in a row that you have an episode. I might miss one. If I can't do a full case, which in all honesty, the likelihood of me being able to produce 4 full cases a month is fucking slim to none, I'm going to at least try to do a mini episode. Additionally, because I am full of exciting surprises today, there is a website. It is fthatpod.com. I'll put it in the show notes. Please don't expect something fancy because it is so bare bones right now. On that note, if you have any suggestions of things you want to see on the website, please let me know. I am totally open to listener feedback. So if you think that there would be something interesting to include on the site, shoot me an email, message me on any social media. I would be so happy to chat with you about it. But there is a full merchandise store. So for those of you that have been dying and not getting sleep because you're like, wow, I really fucking need a Fuck That shirt. It's been like 8 months and I need one. I got you. You can now buy one, among a few other things. Something I'm still working on, but at least the merchandise store is operational for now. So today I'm going to be talking about something that is very different from things that I typically cover. I'm still working directly with people involved in cases, like I mentioned in the last episode. I'm going to be collaborating with somebody in the podcast network, and I'm working directly with somebody that's on the opposite side of the fence in terms of a crime. So stay tuned for that. But today, in the meantime, I'm going to be talking about something that is just completely out of my ballpark, but it's something that I've always been interested in because it kind of involves horror. So I'm interested in that aspect. Definitely not interested in the other aspects that follow. For many people, holidays like Christmas or Thanksgiving are a favorite. I have so many friends that are obsessed with Christmas. I mean, Hallmark Channel 24/7. And while I love them, I fucking judge them wholeheartedly. But I understand that this is a time that many look forward to year round. It's a time for family, food, and cheer, which is something I can't relate to because I'm not cheery, but to each his own. However, for a select group of twisted individuals, myself included, a darker and more sinister time of year is preferred, and that is Easter. I'm just kidding, it's Halloween. For those of us that truly embody that Halloween and all things twisted are a state of mind, we try to get our fix year round. Enthusiasts that are constantly in search of being scared may even try to take things to the next level by participating in what is known as extreme haunted houses. And these are participatory experiences that are meant to push people to their limits. I myself have participated in one, Blackout NYC, but I don't want you to compare my experience to what we're going to talk about here because it's like apples and oranges. Actually, it's like steak and a banana. So, two very different experiences, but this is a thing that people participate in and a lot of people enjoy. Perhaps the OG extreme haunted house, the one that started this entire movement, is McKamey Manor. And McKamey Manor was established almost 2 decades ago in San Diego, California. And over time, it has gained notoriety for its extreme nature and very controversial tactics. McKamey Manor bills itself as an extreme haunt, and it is truly unlike any other attraction of its kind. And by some, it has been described as legalized torture. Before I dive into McKamey Manor, I do want to emphasize that the publicity against Russ McKamey and McKamey Manor, they're all allegations, and none of this has actually been proven in a court of law. I did try to speak with Russ, and I'll elaborate on that later. The history of McKamey Manor dates back to 2001 when Russ McKamey, the founder and owner, opened the attraction in his backyard, and he did this as a way to entertain his family and friends. Honestly, I would co sign this if I had a friend that said to me, Ashley, come over. I have a haunted house in my backyard. They would never be able to get rid of me. I'd be there every fucking day. But over time, his haunted attraction grew in popularity and became way more elaborate. And this resulted in Russ investing significant amounts of money, time, and resources to create an increasingly complex and extreme experience for his visitors. As Russ's attraction gained notoriety, it began to attract more visitors from outside of his immediate social circle. And as the attraction grew more elaborate, it also became more extreme in nature, thus, requiring visitors to sign a waiver that acknowledged the extreme nature of the experience, therefore, absolving McKamey and his team of any responsibility for physical or emotional harm. But despite these blatant warnings in the waiver, visitors continued to sign up for the attraction, with many visitors thereafter reportedly suffering from injuries and alleging that they experienced psychological trauma as a result of their participation. I'm going to elaborate on the topic of controversy surrounding McKamey Manor later, but briefly, the most disturbing elements of McKamey Manor include physical violence, psychological abuse, and simulated sexual assault. Now, regarding that last one, simulated sexual assault, I'm going to talk about this regarding the waiver. It is noted in the waiver that this absolutely does not happen. And this was the one accusation that I really couldn't find a lot of backing for. While that doesn't mean that that isn't true and it didn't happen, I personally was not able to really find anything to cement that. So while McKamey Manor has been the subject of widespread controversy and criticism, Russ, the founder, has vehemently defended his attraction as a form of entertainment and stating that it's an opportunity for individuals to confront their fears. But many critics and many people that have allegedly participated in the tour have argued that this attraction goes far beyond what should be considered a reasonable form of entertainment. And many have insisted that it has and will continue to cause long term damage to those that participate. In recent years, McKamey Manor has faced increasing scrutiny and legal challenges. So initially, this place opened in California. It's kind of unclear as to why he moved, but he did move. In 2019, the attraction moved to Nashville, Tennessee, but was allegedly forced to close its doors after just one day due to the amount of concerns from local officials about the safety of the participants. McKamey Manor is still in Tennessee, but right now it is operational on Russ's property in Summertown, Tennessee. I'm not going to elaborate specifically where. I'm going to respect his privacy, but you can find it online. You can find it on the website. According to an older article in Rolling Stone magazine, Russ McKamey was a Navy vet who worked as a contractor for the military before he retired in 2008. He was known to have an interest in extreme sports and adrenaline fueled activities, which, to be fair, that is super relatable. I feel like it doesn't necessarily really imply that somebody would open an experience like this, but whatever. And then began hosting his small scale haunted attractions in his backyard shortly after. In an interview that he had with The Guardian, Russ described his attraction as a, quote, full contact experience that was intended to push people to their absolute limits. And Russ argued that the extreme nature of this experience was necessary in order to create a true and absolute sense of fear and adrenaline, which he claimed could be therapeutic for participants. Maybe. I don't know that I would consider that therapeutic for 99% of the population, but undoubtedly, I'm sure that there are people out there that would find that kind of experience therapeutic because people are complex. Overall, there is limited information available about Russ's personal life, but the extreme nature of this attraction has obviously made him a controversial and mysterious figure who has been the subject of very intense scrutiny and criticism over the years. So again, I did reach out to Russ. So I'm going to now talk about the requirements, the prize, what have you. I can confirm based on the email that I received after I inquired on the website that the tour does require $100 deposit. However, it is stressed that it is refundable once you get to the property to begin the tour. The only thing that you actually have to provide as compensation is dog food that he donates, which I will elaborate on later. McKamey Manor is advertised on its website as an experience that takes anywhere from 8 to 10 hours. Participants that are able to complete the tour are promised a prize of $20,000. However, to this date, not a single participant has completed the tour. Now, there was a career Marine also named Russell who, in all honesty, is probably one of the most badass people I have ever watched. There's a YouTube video. If I could be like 1% as gangster as this guy, I think I would go really far in life. Like, this dude is just fucking intense. But he almost completed the tour. He ended up being pulled by Russ because he, according to Russ, became hypothermic. Several people have spoken out against this, claiming that he did not have hypothermia. Again, there is a video by McKamey Manor that shows clips of the experience, and I'll link it in the show notes. In my opinion, so he's submerged in almost like what looks like one of those ice cream freezers with the sliding doors. I know you know what I'm talking about. As a kid, you're like, Mom, let me get this ice cream. You go up into the gas station, you fucking slide the door open, you grab your Oreo cookie thing or whatever you eat, slide it closed. And he was submerged in water. So homie's obviously shaking for a little bit. They put blankets on him. They warm him up. He sits up, stops shaking, color's there. He's completely coherent and he's like, I'm fine. And then he stops shivering and says, you're not pulling me out until I pass out. He seems pretty coherent. But then Russ decides to say that he doesn't feel comfortable, so he pulls him. People allege that Russ doesn't actually have $20,000 to give to a winning participant, which is why he pulled Russell, but there's obviously no way for me or anybody else to actually confirm this. Only Russ, the owner of McKamey Manor, knows his true reasons for pulling Russell. But what I can confirm is that Russ is currently a DJ for a local Tennessee bar, and according to several accounts, he's also a Walmart greeter. So do with that information what you will. People say that that implies that he is likely struggling financially. I don't know. Maybe he likes to do things on the side when he's not doing these tours. But people really insist that this $20,000 is not an actual prize that's attainable and more of a ruse to get people to try to participate. One thing that I do personally find interesting and that I will speak on is that Russ prides himself in the very lengthy and exclusive waitlist for McKamey Manor. However, when I reached out via the website, I received a message that ended with sent from my iPhone within literally 5 minutes. And this is what the message read. So this is just a standard recruiting email, but I think the email is very telling of what the experience is going to be like. Quote, interested in taking a tour? I'm looking for serious contenders only. If that's you, you'll need to follow the below instructions completely. Attention to detail is your first test. Do you have what it takes to be selected for McKamey Manor? If you do, get everything that we need back to me today in order to start the process. You'll need to send 2 emails. The first one goes to me, Russ McKamey, directly. I need a video from you. I'm going to pause real quick. When I'm applying to jobs, any job that asks for a video from me is an automatic pass. So this would be an automatic pass. I don't send people videos of myself. It's just fucking awkward to me. But anyway, quote, I need a video from you introducing yourself, and it must be at least 2 minutes in length. It would just be straight crickets for me. Quote, I'm looking for interesting, fun, and unique individuals. Always remember, the manor is a non-knucklehead zone. Here's what I need. Who are you? Why do you want to take the tour? Why should I select you? Where are you from? How long do you think you'll last? That's what she asked. Do you want the big boy tour or the sissy baby tour? If you want the baby tour, you'll need to beg and plead for that I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to be professional. Do you actually have the funds available to cover the $100 deposit once you're scheduled for your tour? Remember, you will get your deposit back if you actually show up for your tour. I also need to know your availability dates. I'm looking for folks who are ready to go now, not months and years down the road. Keep in mind, you need to sell yourself. I receive a lot of requests per day, and I'm looking for the best of the best. I need people with good common sense. Are you? Who are willing to have fun playing the McKamey Manor game. The bottom line is that you need to impress me, make me want to choose you for this most exciting and unique adventure called McKamey Manor. Remember that attention to detail is very important with everything that's involved with this process and the game itself. Send your introduction video to my Facebook Messenger, or you can send it via text or even via email if necessary if the other two methods fail. I'm not going to continue to go on because it includes his email and phone number, which I'm going to exclude because I'm going to respect his privacy. But I did shoot him a text. He replied, confirmed my contact information, and within 10 minutes, I received a text from a, quote, representative named Molly. Molly stated that Russ requires a $150 fee for a conversation, provided I ask no personal questions and ensure the interview isn't hateful, which I would honestly never do to somebody. That's not my goal with my podcast. I'm actually honestly interested in the truth and not just like talking shit about somebody for no reason. So I told Molly that I am a broke as fuck indie podcast host. So she ended up texting me back and saying, you know what? I talked to Russ and he actually said it's fine. He'll do it for $50, but you have to be willing to do a tour. There is no fucking way in hell that I am letting people fuck with me for their pleasure. I don't need to catch a murder charge. So I was like, no. Then we had more dialogue that implied that the notion of charging because he is super busy and has people dying to be participants up the wazoo is likely a facade. So after I blatantly said, when is he available to speak? I received no response. Up to this point, there's still some time in the day, but it's been a couple hours, so that's where we're at. But what I found most interesting about this whole exchange is that Russ posted a recent Facebook post about a month or two ago, and this is what it read. Quote, attention haters, don't be afraid of me, LOL. I never run away from the LICs. I don't know what that means, but you guys continue to run away from me, LOL. Don't be afraid to debate me if you actually believe you have the real facts. I'm giving you a opportunity to speak your mind and bring myself and the manor down. Again, if what you're saying is correct, you should jump on this chance to show me up. Contact me here. I'm not going to read it. It's easy to be brave in messages hiding in the shadows. Show us who you truly are. Of course you won't. LOL. This message is especially for all those talk warriors who love to make videos about me in the manor. Just think of the great content you'll have after a actual interview with me. LOL. So I'm not a talk warrior. And honestly, I just wanted to give him an opportunity to speak about his creation. But Molly, his representative wouldn't oblige. If by chance you're listening, Molly, I am still open to dialogue, but I'm not doing a tour and I'm not giving you $50. So that's that. Now I'm going to talk about the violence at the manor. Again, there have been an insane amount of reports of abuse and extreme treatment experienced by participants of McKamey Manor. But I'm going to reiterate that these are all allegations. I was really hoping to have a dialogue with Russ regarding all of this, but Molly, the pretend representative, was actually the gatekeeper of all gatekeepers. So Russ, if you're listening, promote Molly because she gatekeeped. But this attraction requires visitors to sign a waiver, which I'm going to go over briefly in a couple minutes, that acknowledges the extreme nature of the experience and absolves the organizers of any responsibility for physical or emotional harm. Many have argued that the level of violence and trauma inflicted on participants goes far beyond what could be considered reasonable or even ethical entertainment. I'm not looking to convince you guys either way. I'm simply going to talk about some of the allegations, and then I'm going to read the actual waiver. It's an older waiver, and then I think it's really up to you guys to decide. But some of the reported instances of abuse and extreme treatment at McKamey Manor include physical violence. Participants have reported being hit with various objects, including whips, chains, and paddles. Many have reported being punched, kicked, hit, all sorts of just accosting. And others have reported being forced to undergo waterboarding for several hours, which is a form of simulated drowning and a really popular torture technique, like especially back in World War II. Google it, but Google it with care because it's like it's really fucked up. Not my cup of tea, or hopefully anybody's cup of tea. In terms of psychological abuse, participants have reported being subjected to very intense psychological manipulation and degradation, including being shouted at, insulted, and humiliated for extended periods of time. Many have reported being forced to undergo simulated suffocations or drownings, or being forced to watch others be subjected to extreme treatment. Branching off of that, I'm going to link this in the show notes as well, but there is one survivor. She alleges that she was one of the first to participate in this experiment back when it was in California. And she said that Russ initially asked her partner if he preferred that she or the person that recorded the YouTube video that was one of the first participants would go through something. So he would say, "Hey, this is what I'm about to do next. Do you want to go through it yourself or do you want me to do it to her?" And her partner would consistently pick her, which is really fucked up. I mean, if it was my partner, I'd be like, "I'll do it. I don't want to do it, but like, I'd do it." So whatever, I'm not here to judge. So he caught on to this and continued to only ask her because he knew that every single time she would say, "Do it to my partner," who's the one that has spoken out about the experience. So then she would force her to then watch as her partner was subjected to the treatment that she insisted she had to endure. So a lot of real fucked up manipulation there. Again, these are just allegations from somebody that has been a confirmed survivor, but it has not been proven in a court of law. So I'm just reiterating their story. Additionally, there have been reports in both the New York Times and the Daily Mail. Some of these articles have been deleted, which I thought was really interesting, but they cited reports of people, again, being waterboarded, locked into small spaces, being forced to eat their own vomit. That one I might believe based on the waiver. We'll get into that. And additionally, a Daily Mail report that came out in 2021 said that participants were subjected to being forced to sign false confessions and were being forced to sign waivers under situations of duress. Again, these are all allegations and have not been proven in a court of law. Now, the waiver that I was able to get my hands on does have the old address on it from San Diego, but I'm assuming that not much has changed between California and Tennessee. And many people say that the waiver is even lengthier now. I think something around 40 pages. This one was 26. So, if anything, it's just probably a little bit more in depth, for lack of a better term. I'm not going to cover every single clause. I'm going to start with number 3, which is participant agrees that if the police are called or appear on scene, that participant acknowledges that this is just a game. Number 4, express assumption of risk and inherently dangerous activity. Participant agrees and understands that participation in this event is both physically dangerous and could have a negative impact on one's mental health. By signing this agreement, the participant expressly assumes all risk of physical, mental, or bodily harm despite this acknowledgement of the known risks. Number 5 just ensures that anybody that participates has accidental death and disability, as well as medical insurance. And then there's a release for activity that a lot of people freak out about. It just waives and relinquishes any and all activities that can cause personal injury or death. But honestly, this is really boilerplate. We sign waivers like this all of the time, probably without reading them, I'm sure. Anything that you do that inherently assumes risk, like going on a roller coaster, or for myself, I snowboard, that is inherently risky. So if I'm going to go skiing or snowboarding on a mountain, you're going to sign a waiver. So that really is just not anything that should be looked at as out of the ordinary. However, there are some that are not boilerplate and super fucked up, like number 17. Participant fully understands that which is McKamey Manor, is an extremely physical. Oh, so that's not proofread. Is an extremely physical, and that participant will leave with bumps, bruises, cuts, or other possible injuries, including possible broken bones. Nah, I'm all set. I'm good. You're not going to break my fucking bones. I'm just saying. But I love this. Participant understands that injuries are never on purpose. Like what? Of course they fucking are. I've watched these YouTube videos. But of course this is literally all intentional, but okay. 20. Participant agrees and understands that your life in reality is not in danger and that this is just a game. It's like Operation, it's fine. 21. Participant agrees and understands that during the tour and participant is in the van. I'm reading this literally word for word, so if it sounds like it doesn't make sense, it is how it's written, so that's a good sign. They will not be secured by a seatbelt or other safety device. That's great. Safety first or not. 22. Participant understands and agrees that they realize that they are not being tortured and that this is just a game. Again, I feel like if you have to say that, then it's likely not true. But I digress. 23. Participant understands and agrees that they are not being beat up, kicked, slugged, or actually physically harmed. You will be roughed up, but no one is there to hurt you. Knowing that is very rough and not for the meek, participants will have bumps, bruises, black eyes, swelling of the face, etc. But you're not actually going to be physically harmed. It's like jumbo shrimp. Make it make sense. 24. Participant understands and agrees that they are never being held against their will. This clause is really important, so remember this. It's also interesting to me because the general consensus is that there is actually no leaving, and there are later clauses that I'm going to go over that directly contradict this. Participant understands and agrees that in reality that they were never threatened for real inside of and in reality they are not threatened after the tour is over. Another one that talks about the fact that it's a live theatrical show, not reality. There's another one that goes on to say that the people that they come in contact with are characters. They're just actors. They're there to provide a performance. It's not a reality. But in reality, these people are actually being fucked with, waterboarded, locked in freezers. Like, that is actually a reality. So just because you say it's not true doesn't mean it's not true. Now, this is a clause that I mentioned earlier when I did say that there were some allegations regarding sexual situations. 28. Participant fully understands that by signing this waiver, they are giving permission to keep nothing off the table except for sexual or inappropriate situations. I wonder what they mean by inappropriate situations. I feel like that could be different from person to person. Everything else imaginable can and will happen inside of You are aware of this and are giving full permission for any action that may happen inside of 29. Participant agrees to and has full knowledge that if selected to visit the barber, participant may leave completely bald, including eyebrows. Good thing mine are microbladed on. You can shave them off, but I'm still going to fucking have hair strokes on them, so fuck right off. Number 30, participant agrees and acknowledges, I think they meant acknowledges, that mouse traps are used within the tour, which may result in bruising, cutting, or breakage of fingers. I don't know if any of you are Jackass fans, and I don't mean to make a joke of this, but the entire time I have read this line multiple times, every time I'm thinking of Aaron McGee in like tidy whiteies with the little mouse ears and like the mouse gloves. And then he has the room full of mouse traps and they just throw him in there and he's just skating across the floor on mouse traps. Anyway, number 31, participant agrees that if selected, they could be buried alive under 12 feet. Dude, they don't even do that to fucking dead people. Dead people are 6 feet. These motherfuckers are like, no, fuck that. We're going to double down. 12 feet. Buried alive under 12 feet of dirt and rock, to which they will have a limited amount of air, and that they will have to figure out how to escape. How the fuck are you going to be able to figure out how to escape? And that they could possibly breathe in a significant amount of dust, dirt, or foreign objects that may cause death if participant does not breathe properly or hold their breath at the right time. Respectfully, I want to know who is going to read this waiver and sign up for it, because I feel like it's people that do not season their chicken. 32. Participant agrees to partake if selected to participate in a height stunt that involves walking a plank 25 feet above ground without a safety net. 33. There's one clause that talks about coming into contact with a variety of live poisonous animals. It implies that you cannot panic or agitate the animals. You can get bitten. And it's your fault because you made a sudden movement if you get bitten. This one is just like crazy to me. Number 34, participant agrees and acknowledges that they are responsible, whether they quit an activity or not, for bringing all of the equipment and materials back to the van. So you just went through this like torturous experience, and then you're meant to do a walk of shame, which I'll elaborate on later. And then they're like, motherfucker, bring our shit back to the van. It's like you're the girlfriend of the front man of like a shitty high school band that like doesn't really like you and just like consistently makes you lug around all of the band equipment. It's Robin Scherbatsky in How I Met Your Mother. This one, I'm not going to joke anymore. This one's like actually, these are all concerning. This is where it really starts to get concerning. So, number 35 is that you acknowledge and agree to being submerged in 60 feet of open water and that you agree that your breathing apparatus will be removed. I'm going to just stop. Unless somebody has diving experience, this is super dangerous. 60 feet down may not seem crazy, but like for somebody that's never done a dive before, they're not going to know how to come up, which is what they say in the waiver. It's their responsibility to make their way to the surface on their own. If that's done incorrectly, they're 100% going to get decompression sickness, the bends, if they make it up at all. That will probably kill you. And also, removing somebody's breathing apparatus when they're 60 feet below, there's no fucking way. I try to hold your breath for a minute. I mean, this is where it really starts to get scary. And honestly, I can't decide if a lot of the shit in this waiver is meant to freak people out or not. Although I'm inclined to believe that that's likely not true because there's a lot of evidence that suggests that people don't even see these waivers until they're already in the experience. So I know that there was a clause that said that you're not going to get hurt in any way. Well, you're not going to get beaten, but this one says that participant understands and agrees that they will absolutely get cuts, severe bruising, swelling due to open-handed striking on their face and other physical contact, which could result in a black eye and possible rope burns to the face, neck, arms, hands, legs, or feet, but they're not there to hurt you. Participant agrees to and understands that they might come into contact with electrical stimulation. 39, the most gaslighty of all clauses. Participant understands for this specific show only that participant is being offered a safe phrase. So like I mentioned before, it's tailored to the participant, so each one is different. So to me, this says that safe phrases are almost never offered, but there's going to be clauses that contradict this later that makes it seem like it's a moot point to even have one. So then it says it is up to the participant to use this phrase due to their weakness if they feel they need such a weak precaution as a safe phrase. Participant agrees and understands that it is quite possible that they may come in contact with raw sewage. From a public health perspective, this is a fucking nightmare to me. This is how you get cholera, giardia, polio, which is apparently making a fucking comeback. So please don't expose people to raw sewage. That is how you cause a fucking epidemic. So just don't fucking do that. Just do something else. Don't do that, dude. Now, 41. This one is talked about a lot. Participant agrees that their entire tour will be viewed by a live audience in Las Vegas, the Philippines, and/or Thailand, and that they will act appropriately. So many people have tried to figure out who the fuck, if there even are, who are these people that are watching it by a live audience? Are these like rich people that make their money from watching this shit? I don't fucking know. I feel like there's really no way to figure it out. There's a lot of fucking dark web rumors out there. I obviously cannot determine if any of that's true or not. So I don't know. It is a really weird clause to include, though. Dude, what kind of person would fucking pay to watch this shit? You know, I say that, but then snuff films exist and there's a market for them. So I guess it makes sense. Number 46, participant fully understands that they may incur injuries from exposed screws or other protrusions, which may result in lacerations and or bruises. Again, from a public health perspective, this is sketchy as fuck. Please get your tetanus shot and don't expose people to that. Participants understand that they may incur injuries from falling props in the event that they become unstable during the tour. Understands and agrees that they may come in contact with carbon monoxide poisoning with regard to use of artificial fog. Now, the clause that I mentioned a couple minutes ago about having a safe word, this one is really interesting to me because this one backs up what many people say. Many people that have gone through the experience say that there is actually no leaving. And even if you say you want to leave, it's really up to their discretion. So even though there are a couple clauses that say otherwise, this is number 50. Participant fully understands and agrees that once participant enters MM, there is no quitting unless serious physical or psychological injury is present. Number 51 isn't any better. Participant fully understands that injuries may occur during their tour, which may include but not limited to head, neck, back injuries, death, stroke, traumatic brain injury, brain aneurysms, cerebral or retinal hemorrhage. That's so specific. That is oddly specific. Subdural hematoma, loss of consciousness, whiplash, harmful heart reactions. Somebody did actually have a heart attack. Nausea, headache, dizziness, lacerations, broken or sprained bones, torn ligaments, bleeding wounds, scrapes and or cuts, heat stroke, and drowning, and does not hold MM responsible. Participant fully understands and agrees that being scared, having a panic attack, does not count as a serious injury. They agree that the tour may include use of hypodermic needles, zappers, tasers, or dog shot collars. Understands and agrees that they may be crushed in a pit by various objects. Fully understands and agrees that they may be fish hooked, which may inadvertently cause rippage to the mouth area. Miss me with that fucking shit, man. Fuck that. This one is so weird. I keep saying this, but like, and this is like the third time I'm reading this, and it just gets fucking weirder every time. Number 59, participant fully understands and agrees that if they are selected to visit the dentist, that they may have a tooth extracted without Novocaine and will not hold MM liable. Now, if you listened to that and said, that doesn't make sense. I think Ashley said libel instead of liable. It's because I did. Libel. But they obviously meant liable. So again, this is a really, really well done and proofread and well edited document. Participants fully understand and agree that it's possible that joints, i.e., jaw, shoulder, elbow, wrist, knee, hip, etc., may be accidentally dislocated. You're not going to hold them responsible. Same thing with participating in medieval torture devices such as knife throwing while strapped to a spinning wheel. What is this, a fucking magician trick? Shackles, chains, gibbet cage. I don't know what that is. I'm going to Google it and pause real quick. Honestly, I regret pausing to Google that. It's so fucking weird. It's like a whole, like, iron suit cage. Like, where the fuck do you even get that? You know what? I don't want to know. It goes on to say that you're going to be bruised by paintballs. I don't know what this means. MK Ultra mind control may be used. Okay, like, are you a Jedi? Water torture may be used. A nail may pierce your hand. Your hand may be smashed with tools. Your nails may be removed from your nail beds. Medication may be given that induces hallucinations or sedatives given in pill form or by hypodermic. I'm assuming hypodermic needle at McKamey Manor's discretion. That one is like a super sketchy gray area to me. I'm not really sure how that one is actually something that they get away with. Also, I'm curious where they're getting those medications from. I don't know that I want to know. Moore goes on to say that you agree to be enclosed in containers with limited air, submerged underwater, restrained. You agree to be exposed to a caged drowning pool. Your head will be completely engulfed in a toilet. Possible drowning may occur. Your hands and feet will be zip tied. You may be hung upside down by your ankles. When you're taken hostage in the first moments of the tour, because that's what they do, you tell them where they are and then they just offer you some candy and pull you up into a van and then that's it. That it is extremely physical and daunting and that you will receive bumps, bruises, possible sprains, broken necks, black eyes. You fully understand and agree that there is no quitting until the staff stops the show due to completion or because participant is at physical or psychological level that is best that the tour is stopped, which again is completely contradictory to clause 24. which states participant understands and agrees that they are never being held against their will. I'm going to get into consent later because I love to talk about the law. And this is where I feel like there's like really the legal gray area here, but we'll talk about that later. Participant fully understands and agrees that Russ McKamey and the staff run a very clean and positive show. No sexual or religious situations, and even cussing from the participant is not allowed. That's actually true. Russell, the badass Marine that should have won, cussed and they like flipped the fuck out, which I find to be very hypocritical, but hey. Then they go on to talk about how you have to ingest liquids, maybe food coloring, urine, blood, or any other liquid cuisine from around the world. Your extremities may be crushed by heavy objects. You might be submerged into a pit of undetermined material that could possibly crush the body. You agree to have hundreds of pounds of chains wrapped around your body with the possibility of being crushed or death. You may be severely whipped with a fire hose or belt. You will be in very close contact with fire surrounding your entire body with the very real possibility of getting burned or possible death. Then it says participant acknowledges that even though participant has decided to quit the tour from that point will slowly ramp down to continue with the illusion for film purposes. This may include roughing up participants' head underwater, choking, actors harassing, participants slapping until the walk of shame begins. Then there's 123 and 124, that are big red flags to me. They tell you to list any items that are completely off limits, and should specify what your final straw is, their line in the sand. I will bet my right fucking arm that whatever you list here is exactly what your tour will be based off of and used against you. 129 talks about the safe phrase. If you use the safe phrase, the tour will come to a stop, but the harassing and shoving will continue. Again, I'm truly confused if there is a safe word or not. It seems like it actually is up to them to end the tour, but who knows? Participant understands that there's a very real chance of becoming unconscious due to choking or participant's mouth being covered by hands, a bag, plastic. That's safe. Participant acknowledges and agrees that they will be pushed, shoved, or knocked to the ground during the tour or walk of shame. I could not do this tour because I would immediately start fucking throwing hands. I would catch an infinite amount of assault charges if I said to stop and nobody stopped, and then they tried to make me do Cersei's fucking walk of shame. I swear to God, I would be Goku in that bitch. Kamehameha everywhere. There's an NDA, a non-disparagement agreement. Basically just says that during your tour and for 20 years after you leave the tour that you cannot, through any form of communication with press, public, blah, 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 you can't disparage McKamey Manor in any way. The participant understands that forms of communication include but are not limited to social media websites, public forums, suppliers, vendors, conventions, blah, 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 blah. You can't make any jokes. You can only say nice things. Very specific. Participant understands that if they violate this agreement, that participant agrees to pay McKamey Manor $50,000 as damages. Similarly, McKamey Manor has the right to sue participant in the San Diego County Superior Court system if damages are not paid. I highly doubt that would actually ever be ruled in McKamey Manor's favor, but I am very much willing to bet that a lot of people probably sign that and believe that to be true. So therefore never said anything if they felt the need to. So now that everybody just has a kind of general idea of what the potentials are here, I want to talk about why people are in an uproar about this, why it's okay, why it's not okay, and where there's kind of a gray area. As I mentioned earlier, participation only requires a donation of food. I cannot say why. This is just my assumption. It doesn't mean it's true. But I don't know why he doesn't charge to participate, but my assumption is that he does not want to assume further liability than what he's already assuming. What I mean by that is that he's doing this on his own personal property, and as property owners, we all have what's known as a duty of care. This varies from state to state, but it essentially means that you need to make sure people aren't going to like fucking drown in your pool or get injured if you have like a loose sidewalk on your property. As a business, you typically have a much higher level of responsibility on the premises. However, socially, while you're still responsible, it's obviously much looser. In Tennessee, there is a reasonable duty of care for property owners in terms of premises liability. While I'm not a lawyer, I would love to go to law school because I love law, but I'm broke. But I assume since he is notifying individuals very clearly of the hazards on the property and having them sign away their rights, it likely makes things harder for participants. But I also suspect that the threat of litigation, if they discuss it within 20 years, likely sways people away from speaking out against it or litigation even further, whether they look into if that's actually true or not. There is an overwhelmingly negative sentiment towards participants that have chosen to speak out against Russ and McKamey Manor, and that is because they did sign a waiver and give consent. But here's the thing: consent can be given, and in the same vein, consent can be taken away. Many people argue that this waiver is signed once the experience begins, and this is where it really becomes problematic. Other people say that it's done when they were microdosed, or whatever the waiver said, with drugs. Under the eyes of the law, this does make a contract voidable. It doesn't mean that the contract is voided, but it does mean that there is a very high likelihood that if this is challenged, it would not hold up in court. Because if you put somebody under extreme physical, mental duress, or if you're literally drugging them, they're obviously not thinking in their right frame of mind, and therefore it could very much be argued that that waiver was not signed properly. I think that what would be important to determine here is, does Russ send participants the updated contracts prior to participating, or is it in fact given to participants as the tour begins? I am inclined to believe that they are given to people after it begins. Again, this is just my assumption. It doesn't mean it's true, but there are photos out there, including an article that I will link in the show notes, that shows two participants reviewing the waiver in very extreme conditions. There are masked men violently shoving their hands into their mouths. One waiver looks like it's covered in what's, I hope, fake blood. It's probably fake blood. But this is where I feel like it gets very hairy legally. As I mentioned earlier, under circumstances like that, it is very possible that that waiver could be considered voidable. While McKamey Manor has been operating for around 20 years and the allegations against Russ and his experience have grown over time, people still choose to continue to participate in the McKamey Manor tour. Is McKamey Manor truly just a simulated terror experience meant to push people to their limits, or has Russ McKamey found a way to legally torture people to get his jollies off, like many people claim? I don't know. And while Russ and Molly have both invited me on a tour, to that, I say, fuck that. If you liked what you heard today, please like, review, subscribe, share the podcast with a friend. It really does help the podcast grow, and the more it grows, the more I can do. And that is what she said. Don't forget to check out the new website, fthatpod.com.